I was on Facebook yesterday, something I try to avoid, and had an experience that reminded me why. I saw this ad with a woman trying to sell a product that is essentially a deodorant used in the groin area for females. And her pitch was to discuss how vaginas can smell. She went into, if you're having intercourse 3 days a week, there might be semen dripping out of you, and that can also cause quite a stench. By the way, this woman must be dating, not married, if she's having sex that frequently. But also went into discussing that this is something that majority of women deal with and, in fact, need this product to help with the smell. I was appalled because, again, we are speaking of the vagina versus the male genitalia. I was also concerned because I wondered, are women that out of touch with their own parts of their body, particularly the reproductive organs, that they aren't cleaning them properly and you're not having to worry about this? But it's something that I wanted to bring to the show and to the table today. You're listening to Vulva Views. We are recording here in the back of the Epicurean in Rhinecliff, New York. My name is Allison Chawla. I'm a psychotherapist and an alternative healer.
And I'm Amy Novat, MD, a gynecologist.
Okay, Amy,
Yes.
you are the one that I need to talk to about this because you have been an OBGYN for how many years now?
Over 33, I guess. Yeah, about 33, 34 years.
Okay.
Long time and lots of vaginas.
Lots of vaginas. So I'm curious to know, in your experience, why, and this is not a new thing. I remember even being in my early 20s when people were becoming more and more sexually active and people making jokes about the smell of vaginas. What is going on?
Well, I hate to say it harks back to the whole, social schema of making women feel shame around their vaginas. And that we've been talking about vaginas as if they're dirty, or not as if, but
Right.
They are dirty, unclean, unhygienic for far too long.
Right. So I take tremendous pride in my vagina and keeping it clean, the entire area, my entire body. But I definitely, not because I'm concerned of a smell. I've heard that, but because it's a part of my body. But what is happening with the vagina? I think of it also as a self-cleansing organ, if you will.
It's a remarkable ecology, if you will. The microbiome, the collection of organisms, bacteria, yeast in the vagina, are remarkably healthy and important. And that the whole feminine hygiene billion-dollar industry is actually disrupting it. So it's an organ that actually keeps itself, if you will, healthy. I'm not going to use the word clean because it has a whole nother connotation.
Okay.
But it keeps itself healthy extremely well. It's only when we bother it that it's a problem.
That it's disrupted.
Yeah.
I want to talk about cleaning the vagina.
Okie
because
dokie.
my concern is that there are many women of all ages out there that, due to this shame and due to these products, are either very confused or they're just disconnected from their bodies, which is surprisingly common. Mm-hmm. And so I would love to be able to, go over this or give some women some tips because I'm feeling very protective right now.
Yeah. No, it's as you said, it's really confusing. I don't know if you've gone to a pharmacy recently or even the grocery store.
Oh my God. So where it says feminine products,
right?
It's essentially an entire row of things how to fix your vagina.
That's right. The
What's
implication.
wrong with my vagina in the first place?
That's right. Exactly. The implication is there's something wrong, and that premise is a false narrative. But yet again, it's a billion-dollar industry. So let's go back. So again, the vagina in lay person's terms generally mean the vulva, the external genitalia, and the vagina. So we're talking about both anatomies, external and internal. And the idea is that, again, the pH or the alkalinity and acidity balance in the vagina is really quite good, quite perfect. The biome, the ecology of bacteria and yeast, also very well balanced. The trouble is that we also defecate and urinate down there.
Right. Everything's so close together.
That's right. And so women get a little, how shall I put it, weirded out or concerned about whether those biological processes are making our vulva and vagina dirty. Mm-hmm. But again, it's also the words that have been used to describe or promote those products is you have an unclean vagina, you have a dirty vagina. And in fact, it's rarely talking about healthy vagina.
Right, right. Now, what, for anyone who's curious and thinking like, oh, well, but still, I am a little self-conscious, or, oh, I feel like something is not quite right. What is the healthy way to clean ourselves?
Okay. So just to put it out there, first of all vaginas have a slight odor, and all vaginas have some secretions or discharges or lubricants. And we actually need that. We want that. The trouble is again, we've been convinced that any odor, any secretions is abnormal. Now, there are some abnormalities or situations where the smell is malodorous, or the discharge is too much, or it is got a color that isn't quite normal.
But those are indications that there's actually an issue.
That's
like
right.
An infection.
That's right.
Correct?
That's right.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So again, in general, if you've got a little odor to the vagina that doesn't bother you, doesn't bother your partner, perfect, normal.
Right.
And in fact, remember, we're animals, gang. You know, we need smells. Those are pheromones. Those are sexy stuff.
It makes me wonder if that pheromone smell, discovered by someone at a young age because it is new, becomes the impetus to, oh, they smell, versus, oh, that's not a bad smell, it's just something different, but in fact it on some level makes you attracted to wanting to have intercourse with the vagina.
Yeah, again, we live in a very confusing, paradoxical world. We provide perfumes, we provide body soaps, we provide all these scented products in an attempt to get rid of our smells. And in fact, our smells, our olfactory capacity is such an important part of attraction and sexiness. But there's, it's a fine line for some folks. And so they use a lot of product in order to hide what they interpret as abnormal or a bad smell.
Okay.
Because I bet all it takes is a woman being told once that her vagina didn't smell so good, or that her body odor was not so nice, for her to be convinced she smells.
Yes, and that is something that really triggered me as a therapist, because, I have had women in the chair in my office, and I have experienced even friends that they are absolutely traumatized if someone even makes a joke about them smelling, whereas men, or people... and again, I say people even that identify as men, but as I was growing up, the boys around me were almost proud of their
manly smell.
But even if they're, like, yeah, my balls smell, but I have absolutely seen women become so incredibly self-conscious and so anxious that they develop fear and anxiety around intimacy because of it.
Absolutely.
And usually there's absolutely nothing wrong, according to their doctors, even according to themselves. When I say, go sit home with your clothing off and, recognize there's nothing going on.
That's right.
Nothing abnormal, but there's so much shame and fear that something during, sex will trigger a smell, and that they will be untouchable and no one will want to be around them.
It becomes an area of, as you in your field call, perseveration.
Right.
Where I'll have women come in and say, I have the smell again. I have the smell again.
Yes.
I mean, they might come in 4 or 5 times a year with no obvious smell, no obvious findings on exam, normal cultures, like everything is okay, but they, again, have been convinced. So let's talk about oh my gosh, those products. Allison, there are douches, there are creams, there are salves, there are sprays, there are suppositories.
And now there's deodorants.
There's now deodorants. There's, Summer's Eve that smells like a garden. Who said their vagina smells like a garden? Where did that ever come from?
I prefer mine to smell like basil and rosemary.
An herbal garden.
Yeah, I have an herbal garden. You're welcome.
When did it ever become so clear, or when did humans decide that floral was the best smell out there?
Who the
I
hell
don't know.
knows?
Anyway, so there's all these products out there, and they're all bad. They're all bad for you because they, one, contain, if you look at any of these products, most of these products have a list of ingredients that you can't pronounce.
Right.
Are filled with chemicals that are probably astringents to the vaginal mucosa or the lining of the vagina or the tissue of the vulva, which are very sensitive organs, if you will, and they can be extremely irritating. So women will douche, use these products, and then will come in often with an imbalance, what we call a vaginosis, where the bacterial environment is off, and then they begin to get signs and symptoms of infection. So it's such a farce. These products are actually deleterious. They're harmful to us.
But they've
so
been
what
around
can you,
forever.
Oh, well, shame has been around for a long time.
Well, I remember being a kid and like sneaking into my parents' room or bathroom and just being curious about the different things they had around. And at the
Sure.
time, I didn't know what it was.
Sure.
But there was almost like this water bag with a long tube, and it was a douche.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That
no.
word, even saying that word.
I know.
It's a terrible word.
I know. I've never looked up the etymology of it.
Douche. Our producer, Jen Hammoud, is looking it up right now.
Some French something. But, it's fascinating how long this has been going on. So let's just talk about what's a healthy way of promoting healthy bacteria, promoting well-being in the vagina. If you're worried, because, listen, there are some women who say, listen, I don't have a problem with my vagina most of the time, but when I have sex with my male partner and he ejaculates in me, there's just a feeling of just not quite right, and I want to do something about it.
Right.
Or I was on antibiotics a lot, and I want to promote health in my biome, in my vagina, so I'm tempted to use this Summer's Eve product to rebalance my pH. Is that all right? I mean, there's all kinds of scenarios where women will ask about what to do. So I'm going to break it down very easily. Water.
Right,
Did I mention
that's
water?
It.
That's really it. If you feel compelled to use a soap on the vulva, because when I say to women, all you need is water to clean your external genitalia, they look at me like I am out of my mind.
That's all I use.
Yeah. So if you have to use a soap, you're going to use a soap that has no antibacterial properties, no smells to it, fragrances to it, and keep it simple. Allison just handed me her phone to tell me about douche, and I got distracted, so I was looking at it because the etymology is actually multiple. So we're going to read that to you in a second. So you keep it to water, but if you have to use a soap, a glycerin soap, a soap that's hand milled by your next door neighbor that has 2, ingredients in it, something really simple. And please, vulva havers out there, do not scrub. I can't tell you how, I mean, it's real, Allison. Women will come into the office and say, I've got this rash. I can't get rid of this rash.
No.
And you look
I believe it.
Yeah.
And I've seen it. And I've had friends over the years say, I don't know what's going on. It like burns and it's irritated. And, what do you think? Because, therapist translates to vagina specialist somehow. But I will say like, well, what'd you do? And my friend said, well, I scrubbed it with soap. I'm like, well, why in the world would you put soap in there?
Or with a washcloth
Or with
even.
you have hands and fingers. And then her response was, oh, that's gross. And
Oh,
that's
yeah.
the kind of thing that really not disturbs me, but worries me. Like, that is your body.
That's right.
That is your vagina. If you are not comfortable with it, if you are not taking care of it, if you're not protecting it, no one else is going to.
That's
but
right.
also, what an unfortunate disassociation with being a woman and having this gift of an organ that does so many incredible things.
That's right. How do you develop a relationship with this part of your body that is healthy and supportive and absent of shame? I mean, that's so much of what vulva views we're talking about and what we're trying to promote.
The other interesting thing that this person said at the time, I asked, okay, well, you don't feel comfortable like putting your fingers in there, but what is it like when you have sex? And she was single and having multiple partners at the time. And her response was, oh, it's fine.
Yeah.
And I was like,
yeah. Interesting, isn't it?
wow.
Yeah. So again, in a way, there's the male gaze that says all is well and user friendly.
Right.
But that our own personal gaze is so negative or disgusted by it.
I know, it's so
I know.
sad.
I know.
I have a question. How
Sure.
about, we were talking about like putting fingers in there, and that's usually like throughout the labia, but what about like into the vagina at all for cleaning it out?
So if you feel compelled to clean, if you have a bathtub, fill your bathtub with warm to hot water. Please avoid soaps. Some oils are good, but make sure it's a basic oil like almond oil or olive oil, one that you eat and can put on your skin and not be irritated by. People really like Epsom salts, and for a lot of women, that's really healthy. And just open your legs. create a little current in the bathtub, and trust me, water will get inside your vagina. And this is a way of just cleansing, which doesn't typically impact the pH of the vagina, doesn't negatively impact the microbiome. And it feels good.
Yeah.
And baths in general feel good to most of us. Now, if you don't have a bath, what do? If you have a shower head, you have to be careful. The spray shower heads, a lot of women will use that on like the highest intensity.
Yeah.
Again, that can be very irritating to this tissue. It's just too aggressive. But getting water on your fingers, using even, the plungers, Allison, that you use
Plungers?
for... Yeah.
What are we doing with a plunger?
The ones that you
I
use...
just thought about the one for the toilet, like
I
that
know.
size.
Well, you can try, but I don't think it's going to work.
Although I might try pink Himalayan bath salt so my vagina can have a spiritual experience as well while it's getting clean.
Well, you can play music too.
Oh, always.
And light candles and just create a
Always.
whole love relationship with the bath.
But wait, plunger, because my brain is still on
I
like,
know.
the pink
those
orange
little
bottom
plungers
giant
that
thing.
women have that are associated with the use of medications for the vagina.
Yes.
Yeah. There must be another name for them. What are they? Applicator, which also doesn't really make sense to me.
Right.
But anyway, putting a little water in an applicator and, gently plunging. It's a form of douching, but again, if you got to douche, it's just water. Just
Okay.
water.
Okay.
It's starting with understanding the health of the vagina and reminding oneself that there can also be these changes that go on with aging, with exercise. Like I've had women say, "Oh, I smell so much after I exercise." And it's like, well, have you ever smelled your underarms when you exercise?
Yeah, it's everything. Everything is sweating.
That's right.
Like
That's right.
Especially things contained in clothing.
And in the clothing
not able to breathe.
that we wear when we exercise,
Yes,
right?
very tight, very
synthetic.
Yeah, yes.
So if you can, one, get out of those clothing as fast as you can after exercise, let the body breathe. I like to say to women, first of all, I want you to sleep naked from the waist down if you can. If you can't do that and you got to have something on your bottom, very loose pajamas. This is a part of our body that rarely gets aired out. So letting it get air. If you have the capacity to wear a big loose skirt during the summertime and you're at your home, like walk around naked from the waist down. Just,
Yes, it's very comfortable.
it is. And
I like to walk around. I like to air my vagina out.
I
think It's
do.
quite refreshing.
It is. It's
I don't
like-
know how the neighbors feel, but
It's kind of like skinny dipping, There's something so refreshing about not having any restrictive
you know what? I'm
clothing on.
going to add something that it just occurred to me. I say this to my kids, but since we were discussing how funny that just came out. That was not a Freudian slip. That was a tongue tie. Discussing how there's so much going on down there. Like the simple reminder of keep them really separate when you're cleaning. Front to back. Never. Every time I see my daughter sit on the toilet and they like reach front first, I'm like, no, I know what you didn't hear. Back first. Keep them separate. But it's a tiny thing that like, and there are secretions from everywhere when we sweat, like you said.
That's right.
Or we're exercising.
That's
or we're
right.
working very hard. And to just be aware of keeping those things, together but separate.
That's right. And just to remind people that the glands in our underarms are the same as what's in our groin, but there's different sweat glands kind of along the vulva, and they can create a different odor. And that's okay. That's normal. It's really okay. So again, things to avoid. We've talked about tight clothing. Please avoid panty liners and pads and tampons that have, again, scents. Why? It's about putting perfume in places that don't need to be perfumed. What other things can we do? Panty hose. Tight clothing like that we might wear.
Pantyhose. I forgot about that word. I think they call them tights now, but pantyhose is.
Yeah, well,
I remember.
I'm an older crone.
And the pantyhose, I used to wear them all the time.
Yeah.
But I remember them when you got to the top. They were thicker.
That's right.
In fabric and tighter.
That's right. And so every panty you own should be cotton lined, cover over the vulva. And my greatest, how shall I say it? I do not believe anyone should wear G-strings unless you have to for a piece of clothing.
Yeah, I don't like them either.
It is just as I put it, it's just a wet highway.
It's a butt floss.
It is just a wet highway that makes the vagina and vulva not feel good.
Very uncomfortable.
Not feel good. So please, please, please. Yeah, maybe you think it's sexy, and I respect that. You can think it's sexy.
Or wear them during sexy times.
That's right. Exactly.
Wear them during sexy times. They'll come off quickly, hopefully, if things are going well. And
there you go.
You don't need to put them back on.
And there are lots of panties out there that
Jen
have no...
is laughing at me. But you know what I mean? Like, there could be a temporary moment where the floss is fun.
Oh, and the other thing I forgot to mention in terms of how to keep the area dry and comfortable, I think blow dryers are fantastic for this function.
Wait, let's just pause for a second and acknowledge the response and reaction we are getting from our amazing producers, Jen Hammoud, Matty Rosenberg. Jen is the one that is having the most visceral response, it seems, trying not to crack up. I bet tomorrow you're going to be in the bathroom with the blow dryer. There you go, leg up. You know, I used to see many women doing that in the gym in the city. I was like, good for you, girl. Get that thing dry.
But let me give you a little bit of directions here, everyone out there.
Yeah.
Not on hot,
right?
But on cool or warm. Off. Do not direct it straight into the vagina. No, the idea is to do it as if it's a wind blowing across.
You'll take off like a hot air balloon.
There you go.
Oh, I got Matty.
This is so great. This is so great.
Can you imagine that? All these women like rising.
I know. I actually kind of dig the image.
No, she was the blow dryer today.
Her vagina is healthy and
she will now
what's
change.
What's a euphemism for inflated? You know,
I said levitated.
I don't know. There you go.
Levitated.
On cool, not directly into the vagina. And use your fingers to separate the folds of the vulva because, again, there's lots of folds down there.
Yeah.
So make sure you're getting all the folds. And it is such a delightful, easy, quick way of drying off the vulva. Now, if you don't have a blow dryer, remember your towel is not for scrubbing either. You know, a lot of women say, well, I felt a little itchy down there. So guess what? I took my towel and scratched and scratched and scratched. I'm not kidding you. I don't make this stuff up. Like, don't do this, ladies. Pat. Like toilet paper should never be used to rub. It's patting. Patting.
This is great.
You know,
I'm just coming, all these visuals that are coming into my head right now.
I know. These are the things that one learns after speaking to vulva havers for such a long time. And I so respect all of our attempts to be healthy, to understand our body parts, to have a sense of humor.
That's the thing, have a sense of humor.
You gotta.
It's almost like you can be more comfortable with it if you're like, you can joke about it. And
Absolutely.
That's true for anything.
That's right.
Psychologically, that's true for anything. Try to be able to laugh.
Yeah.
What about, let's not forget, what do we tell the men or the people, the other partners that are making jokes about vagina smelling beyond grow up a little bit? What do we tell them?
Gentle. Compassion, respect, understanding the impact of their words. And I would say this about, every conversation. It's so interesting. I was reading the other day, I was looking up the definition of menses. And what struck me you know how when you look up on Google, you get like a series of questions that come up that I guess, I don't know this, I'd have to ask Matty, are like the most commonly asked questions.
Yes.
Well, one of the questions that came up on that list is, how do men talk to women about their menses? I was so shocked and pleased.
Wow, I am really proud.
I know. It was like, please use respect, use compassion.
Keep going, guys.
Yeah, exactly. I can promise you, if Google was around 30 years ago, that would not have been one of those questions.
I hope. Well, yeah, one can hope.
Anyway, so, when we talk to each other about each other's bodies, and particularly our sexual organs. But you know what? None of us like to be criticized about our body odor, even if it's just coming from our underarms. We don't like to be told our hair is greasy. We don't like to be critiqued or criticized. We all value and favor positive comments as opposed to negative ones. And we hold on to the negative ones a whole lot longer and stronger. So if we are concerned about our partner's smell, then I think, first of all, don't do it in the bedroom. Do it when you're not naked.
Yeah.
Do it when you are sitting across from one another, eye to eye, and where you're just gently saying, you know what? I love your body, but something has changed recently, and I don't know what it is. Are you feeling okay? Because again, when a woman starts to have malodor from the vagina, it's often associated with other symptoms that she might not be telling you about. She might not be telling you about a discharge or an itch or a burn, and she may not even be kind of putting it all together. And so, hey, I hear there's this kind of doctor called a gynecologist. Maybe we need to go in together to find out what's going on.
See, I would be terrified if somebody said that to me. I'd be like, what are you trying to tell me right now?
Okay, so speak more about that. What do you mean?
I would be wanting to know what was going on. If someone was like, you know what, why don't we go to your doctor together? I'd be like, what? Just tell me what is going on. It just feels very like tiptoey and passive.
Oh, I meant saying it smells different or
so
it tastes different. Yes.
Okay.
And then saying, I want to go with you so we can. It's. I think that when a partner shows up in the office when there's something associated with sex,
yeah,
it is. It's kind of a lovely thing because almost always, not always. Sometimes partners come in and they're just full of criticism. But more often than not, it's about, we want to have great sex. There's something that's changed. There's something that's not feeling right.
Okay.
So
there was the interaction.
Yes.
Something smells or tastes different.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes more sense.
And I want to remind vulva havers out there, this is a very common phenomenon, particularly as we age. When one goes through the perimenopause into the postmenopause, there can be very much a change in secretions and odor and the way the vagina feels, particularly with penetrative sex. So that's a whole nother, storyline, if you will. That's not about infection typically. That's about having less estrogen on board and the changes in the vagina and vulva as a result of that change. Yeah.
And coconuts help. Coconut oil is helpful for that.
Oh,
right?
It's so great. Coconut oil, cocoa butter, even, something like olive oil, almond oils. If these are products that, again, you put in your mouth, you can put in your vagina. And I always say that if anybody's going to use any product, and please keep it simple, but even a gentle soap or even an oil that you've never used on your skin before, you do what I call a skin patch test.
Just a drop.
A drop
Yeah.
on the inside of your thigh, on the inner part of your wrist, or on your neck. These are very thin
parts.
skin places. And do it every night for about a week and just see how your skin responds to it. And if it gets red and inflamed and itchy and burning,
Do not cover your vagina in it.
Do not put it inside or even on the vulva. Right.
All right.
Yeah.
I feel like we really covered a lot there.
I know. So I guess the moral of our story today is, please, your vagina and vulva are healthy.
Yes.
That there is a difference between clean and healthy, and that clean has all kinds of negative connotations. It implies you are dirty, and you are not dirty. If there are symptoms like itching, burning, smell, that is often a result of an imbalance, an infection in the vagina that you didn't cause. That happens as a result of a lot of the things that we do in our lives. Wear tight clothing, take antibiotics, over clean ourselves. Sometimes just a result of an imbalance in the body, in the whole body. So please be kind to this part of your anatomy.
And also be comfortable and at one with it. And develop. If you don't have a relationship and you are uncomfortable with your own vagina, just take little steps and become more comfortable with it, because it's a part of you, like your eyelashes that you do in the morning, or your lips that you put lipstick on, or your hair that you wash. You have to have a relationship with that part of your body as well to keep the entire system healthy.
Yeah.
And happy and confident and all of those things.
Absolutely.
Mind, body, and spirit.
That's right. A source of pleasure. I mean, for most of us, the vagina is a source of pleasure and challenge, between menstrual cycles and penetrative sex. It's a kind of funny bedfellow. So it's about understanding. Again, Vulva Views, we're here because we want you to have a sense of humor about the body. We want you to have better information about the body. We want to share our own funny, silly, quirky journeys with you. and reassure you, you are not alone out there. So please, if you're using sex toys, keep them clean. If you're using products for your periods, which you probably are, investigate what's out there and don't buy Always brand products, just to say that. They absolutely promote imbalances in the vagina. That's based on science, not just my impression. Do what's best for your body. If you feel like you're having recurrent what we call dysbiosis or imbalances in the vagina, Allison, I want to remind people, make sure that you don't have a diabetes.
Right.
If you have had many sexual partners, please have your blood checked for HIV. That there are recurrent imbalances that can be associated with other disease processes. So you want to make sure that you are healthy all over.
Yes. And I'm glad you brought up the cleaning of the sex toys because I didn't even think about that, but that is something that has to happen.
Yeah.
Alcohol? Rubbing alcohol?
You can use soap and water,
soap and
just
water?
gentle soap and water. Yeah. And you have to know what your product is made out of because
Right, 'cause it
they
can
come in
change.
different, some are soap friendly, some are not, etc. But you don't need to scrub them either. Just gently clean them. For those of you who can't see through the radio or your headphones, Allison is making a scrubbing motion. After our show today, I want to look up Summer's Eve and which advertising firm
God.
came up with that because I find it so insulting.
I do too. I just keep going back to the idea of smelling like basil and oregano. I don't know.
I like
olive
the
oil
idea-
and oregano.
Yeah, choose your fragrance. And it's,
But why a garden?
I don't know.
Summer's Eve disposable douche smell like a garden. Because, I always think of men wanting to be in the garden all the time, and especially in the 50s.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know. The Garden of Eden, that's where we
Maybe
turn the
that's
tides.
where it came from.
Maybe, but we ruined everything there. So,
Oh, that apple.
oh, that snake. So is there anything else you want to say about this topic?
I do not at the moment, but I'm happy to revisit it if anybody has any questions or wants to send in an email. If you do, please email us at radiofreerhinecliff.org at vulvaviews. We would be more than happy to revisit this.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, there are nuances out there about this topic. And you might say, I've been using cornstarch all my life and it feels good and works for me. And I would say it's a great product. Does it work for everyone? No. And I want to remind everybody, never, ever, ever use talcum.
Never.
On your vulva. I can't believe, Allison, it's still on the shelves.
I know. And you know what else I recently learned, actually from one of our guests, Zara Altmach, is that they still attempt to use talcum powder inside the body
I know.
for other surgeries. And we
I
have
know.
all this information that it caused cancer. What are we doing?
Why
do we have it?
There's many, how shall I put this, industrial complexes out there. And this is one of them. Johnson & Johnson is a big company, So I thought I'd end our show today with all the different names of the anatomy that we're speaking about, of the vulva and vagina that I've kind of heard. And the list is endless. So I'm just going to name a few. All righty?
I'm ready. I love it.
All righty. Box, fanny, pussy, vag, bits, monkey, bajango, foof, flu-foo, downstairs, twat, hole, thingy, vajayjay, kitty, vagine, bean, Mary Ellen, that's one I have not.
What?
Penis flytrap, sex,
God.
fadango, beaver, cunt, flora, coochie, snatch, muff, crotch, tuppence, and front bottom.
Tuppence. Just
Just a tuppence for your vagina.
Oh, God. Cunt is my favorite. I think it's one of those. I mean, the English use it quite a lot with their fantastic accents, quite flippantly actually. But like once in a while, using that word feels very powerful.
There is power behind it when you use it properly.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
for sure.
Absolutely. So please, thank you for joining us on Vulva Views. I'm Amy Novat.
I'm Allison Chawla.
Please come and listen to us again.
Yes, and thank you again to the Epicurean in Rhinecliff, New York, and to our producers Matty Rosenberg and Jen Hammoud. You're listening to Vulva Views.